Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another special Victory of the Light radio show. I'm your host, Rob Potter, allegedly the voice of the resistance, and I am happy to announce that I'm going to be doing this special Cobra interview today, and it's thanks to you all and your wonderful support of my website, www.The Promise Revealed, that keeps me going. I really appreciate it. I need to offer some thanks out there to Danelle Glade, who does the transcribing. Of course, the ever-talented, amazing YouTube creator, Stephen Smalley, who has outdone himself last month. I can't imagine a better one, but it could happen this month, folks, on the Cobra Interview. Watch for the YouTube coming up.
I'd like to thank Ricky Serafico, our Palladian Lightworker, music producer.
My Brazilian brother, the talented musician who plays the lead-in music and the closing music, does a wonderful job of editing this. He works tirelessly, very hard on this program for free, as well as doing a lot of work on the internet, sharing the Victory of the Light. I have decided to offer his album, Mysterious Spheres, on my website. On the sidebar, you'll see at the bottom on the right-hand side a link, and also in my header bar of The Promise Revealed, under music, you will see Mysterious Spheres. You can have a listen sample, and you can also purchase that, and it would really help Ricky out, and I want to support him and his wonderful efforts there for the Cobra teams. I also am very happy to announce that Prepare for Change is still up and running, and there's great information there for those of you who want to refer people to the event or to become involved in our weekly meditations. PrepareForChange.net. It's a wonderful website, as well as Cobra's Portal 2012 blog spot with lots of wonderful information there. We have a great interview with Cobra coming up, and I wanted to announce I will be having some new products on my website. I'd like you to keep your eyes out for them. I have the Gem Energy Spheres, should be coming up very soon from Judy Beebe, the amazing new hydrogen healing technology, as well as I'm going to be introducing and explaining a radio show with the people from Isogenics about a wonderful new product called Product B, and it helps restore and regenerate the DNA. It's formulated by John Anderson, who my mentor and guide Fred Bell was highly respectful of. In fact, all of Fred Bell's vitamins were formulated by John Anderson, and Fred Bell added a couple things here and there, but John Anderson is a master formulator, and he's gotten together with a Nobel Prize winner, and I have to admit, I have been noticing some changes as a result of taking this Product B, and it's going to be on my website. I'll have some explanation on it and offering some special discounts. We'll be doing a radio show on that too soon. So lots of good things coming up. Hey, if you're feeling the love, I have a donation button on my website. Any help or love with products, I would be very grateful. And without further ado, here comes the Cobra interview, folks. Thank you so much, and victory to the light, and keep those questions coming.
Okay, folks, here we are again on the Victory of the Light radio show. Once again, as promised, here is our emissary of light, my good friend, and the resistance, voice of the resistance, Cobra. Welcome to the Victory of the Light radio show once again.
Thank you for your invitation.
It's always a pleasure, Cobra, and it's an honor to be working with you. I have a lot of amazing things have been happening on the world scene lately. Before we get to all of our questions there, we've got a lot of questions on some repeat subjects. And first of all, I guess I'd like to talk to you about the financial situation. One of my sources, who knows someone who has an uncle and a cousin, so to speak, was involved in the financial reset in the inner circle there in Reno, has told me that as far as they know, there has been some major progress made with the revaluation, and certain things are getting very close in place. And according to their intelligence, and they talk to the top people, that some of the posts from John McAfee recently was actually accurate. And they were actually anticipating that there may be something changes very, very soon. Is this possible? Can you talk about any of this latest development, this big buzz about things getting closer? And now that I have a source who's actually saying from the inside is kind of confirming for the first time, they're actually expectant for things. Any comments on this? Do you see this as real?
Okay, I will put it this way. Yes, there has been a certain breakthrough happening on the, I would say, between the 17th and 19th of October. But this does not mean that the revaluation will happen right now or the reset will happen right now. As I would put more correctly, I would also not agree with the notion that the dragons have purchased the Federal Reserve. But yes, there has been certain agreements made, and yes, there was a certain quite significant progress, but we're not there yet. And it's quite understanding that some people are quite excited because many people have been working for years after years of hard work, and finally there are some results, but those results are not enough for the breakthrough to manifest completely.
Right. I kind of felt the same way. I feel like we're actually getting, from what I'm understanding, there's some various papers and some agreements and signatories and certain things are being cleared, but it's really different than the actual implementation of it. So I really appreciate that perspective there. The Federal Reserve, I mean, I heard that rumor too, and that was actually one of the questions that we're going to have later, so you've answered that one preemptively, but the Federal Reserve can't be bought. That's basically going to be disbanded, won't it?
Exactly.
Okay, good. Another thing that's really hot on people's minds, been getting a lot of emails, and folks, if I don't answer yours exactly the way you wrote it, because I have several others, and to remind you all, Cobra does not comment on things that you ask for homework. Like if you say, what does he think about this book or this thing? We're not going to watch an hour and a half YouTube and give a comment on it. So just don't be offended if we didn't answer your question, or if you had a question or comment about someone, another channel or another person. He doesn't comment about other people too much, and that's a good thing. So Cobra, one of the questions that I've been getting a lot of various terms, of course, is about this big Ebola scare. I know we've talked about it before. And I've worked with Len Horowitz. He wrote the book, Nature, Accident or Intentional, AIDS and Ebola, and he clearly proves that it's pretty much intentional. So many people, of course, are running in the fear, but if you could please comment on the Ebola situation. People think that are speculating it's a plan to force vaccinations, which of course it may be, but could you just allay people's fears once again? It's really big in people's minds.
Yes, basically what's happening is that the cabal wanted to engineer another pandemics, and they have created this virus in a laboratory, but then when the light forces managed to annihilate most of this and destroy most of this, they have inflated the whole situation by actually creating a mass pandemic false flag with staged actors, with hyped media campaign, and the reality of the situation is that the Ebola is actually decreasing, and there are countries that have been infected that are clear now already, and also the possibility of getting Ebola is extremely small. It is almost impossible for an average human being to catch that disease. Yes, there are plans that the cabal wants to use that as an excuse for mass vaccinations, and those plans can be successful in limited, isolated cases, but not globally.
Right. I felt the same way, that it's been extremely hyped up. So the good news is the light forces, when this plan was coming up, they basically, wherever it was stored, Africa or Fort Detrick, Maryland, will they put a laser beam on that, or just it's magically kill all the viruses? What have they done? Can you explain to that?
Well, they have technology that can, I would not go into details of their technology, but they have certain technology that can now counteract most of what they are doing.
So to be clear, this is absolutely, of course, we know Ebola and the whole thing is manufactured as an end game type fear thing, but they basically don't even have the virus to infect. They have small amounts. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so they're using these very small amounts and using all staged actors and players for that.
Yes.
So ladies and gentlemen, listen to that. You heard it here first. It's not that Ebola is not deadly. It is very deadly. It's a dangerous disease, but the light forces are here, and we're getting a lot of help from them. And even though you're seeing it on television, folks, please don't believe this type of stuff. This is, again, fear. I've seen a lot of light people, a lot of comments in the various blogs and posts. People just kind of parroting Fox News. We have to realize we have to move beyond this. Here's a question I've gotten twice. I wanted to ask about it. Fred Bell said in his book, according to Semyasi, that oil's purpose is to act as a shock absorber for the tectonic plates. Could you comment on the purpose of oil esoterically and what it means to the planet?
Okay, it is actually also a transmitter of information. It's a liquid which connects various parts of the upper crust and transmits information between those areas.
Okay, so it actually has an esoteric aspect of communication to the various elemental forces within the Earth. Would that be correct?
Yes, for the upper crust of the planet.
Okay, very good. Unfortunately, folks, I didn't get these questions in a logical order today. Very, very busy, but we're going to kind of jump around here. So here's a question someone asked about the event. How will this affect children?
Yeah, they will be very happy because they will feel on some level that something very beautiful is happening, and they will be quite excited about it.
Okay, how about animals? Will animals have any type of difference? Will animals be less violent towards human, or what's going to happen there?
Animals will become more peaceful and calm, and they will also feel that something is going on.
Okay, and here's kind of a weird one. Someone asked, what happens if you're in an airplane at the time of the event?
Well, the airplane will continue flying as usual because all that basic infrastructure will work. It will land according to schedule, and then, of course, people will realize that something extraordinary is going on.
Very good. One person asked, is all meditation good, and is it useful for the event? It was a very sweet person who said, I don't think I'm worthy to help with the event, and I gave them a very strong message. Everybody is worthy, everyone is important, everyone's effort is important. So you will confirm that everyone can play a part in this event, yes?
Yes, of course. If you want to, you can, of course, play the part. Each person that participates counts and can make a change, can make a difference.
And generally speaking, you recommend, I know there's many different types of meditation, but meditation is good, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Some people have mentioned that they have experienced a huge positive shift in energy since the equinox. Are there any reasons behind that?
Yes, there has been some progress being made with the situation with the veil, and yes, some people were able to feel that.
Okay, very good. Someone said in the picture you posted about the etheric plane that it's divided into 4 layers. Is there darkness in all those layers, or the upper layers have already been cleared?
Yes, there is still some negativity on higher subplanes of the etheric plane, but less and less.
Okay, so I guess we could ask for a basic update. Have there been any more major archons or black nobility behind the scenes removed from the planet?
Not lately.
Not lately. In regards to the Chimera, have there been any more advancements made since we last spoke in regards to the stranglet bonds or that type of information with the Chimera groups?
Yes, there was one major breakthrough, but details are classified information at this point.
Okay, that's very good. Another question someone had, there was a famous video that showed, I think it was a camera of some military person, and according to sources, the base was warned. They had some technology, and there were a series of light flashes. I did see the video over a period of several hours. Large light flashes, kind of light explosions just kind of took place. Can you comment on that?
Well, I would need to see the video to make a comment.
Okay. It was just a video. There was light flashes. Allegedly, some things were happening in the underground bases. This one's from Freddie. You mentioned a plane similar to the plasma plane, but on a higher octave called Buddhimana's membrane. Is this his different name to indicate the tachyon membrane?
No.
Can you talk a little bit about the plane called the Buddhimana's membrane?
It's not an actual plane. It's actually a membrane. It's a very thin layer, which is a result of a torsion forces between the higher mental plane and the intuitional plane, and that membrane actually acts as a filter which actually blocks to a certain degree our connection with our souls and higher planes of creation.
Right, so the higher end of the mental plane is kind of being manipulated to block the intuitional consciousness?
This is not happening on purpose. Although at a certain point in history, not too long ago, the Chimera group had some technology to influence that, but it's actually a result of the cosmic anomaly because there is so much darkness on lower planes like the physical and the astral plane. It creates a certain tension on the mental plane, and that actually lowers the connection with the higher planes of creation.
Okay. As above, so below, and in the similar vein as below, sometimes so above. Could you talk a little bit about what is the hidden plasma plane?
How do you mean hidden plasma plane?
Well, this comes from Freddie. It says, is the plan of the light forces to simply clear the hidden plasma plane abyss or to transmute it and eventually erase it?
Yes, they will transmute at any rate. It will not exist in the same way. It will be just a very subtle membrane, which will be a natural divide between the physical and etheric.
Okay. Is there any progress in stopping the flow of arms and the orders to the minor Chimera groups, not the ones in the main strongholds? We're talking about the ones that are on the surface, like running ISIS and the Ukraine. Is there some positive things coming forward towards arresting their actions?
Yes, there has been some progress there as well.
Okay, so another question on Ebola here. Is it possible that the Cabal will manage to launch a mandatory Ebola vaccination program in some countries?
I have already answered this. They might be successful in isolated cases, but you might remember what happened with that pandemic a few years ago when there were some vaccinations in certain countries, but the whole situation just dissolved.
Right. Speaking of that, we've had some news that I think it's a premier of India or someone in India has actually indicated in official channels that they want to hold Bill Gates responsible for some unproven vaccines that have caused some damage to some Indian girls. Is that a part of the resistance movement getting that going?
It's not directly from the resistance movement, but yes, it is an initiative coming from the light forces.
Very good. Let's see. Will people like Bill Gates and some of these big financial supporters be arrested along with some of the major players as well?
At the time of the event, yes.
Okay, very good. Here's another Chimera Group question. Once a Chimera Group will be cleared, will the Moondust Project and other black projects operating under the control of the negative military be ended completely?
Yes, immediately, yes.
I guess that would mean that the Chimera Group's ending is actually at the same time of the event. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Another question. Since Starseed's missions include liberating and enlightening the planet, how do Archons let them enter Earth knowing who they are?
Actually, what they do, sometimes the light workers can do much more effective work on the astral plane, so they try to trap them in dysfunctional families so they would not awaken and they would not help liberating the planet. But even with all the efforts of the Archons, the light forces are successful in awakening many of the light workers and light warriors. Then they are successful in assisting in the planetary liberation.
Okay, thank you. According to Alex Collier's work and some other sources, it has been indicated that the reptilian races that are involved in violation of the Galactic Codex and the very advanced programming and let's call it the implant technology that's being used on Earth now, that those beings themselves have been implanted and are simply running a program that they were given. Would you agree with that?
Yes. In most cases, actually, I would say that every being on the dark side has been implanted and programmed at a certain point.
So at a certain point in time, I guess it's hard for us to, I've been examining this in myself recently, but when this event takes place, these beings themselves will be liberated from their implants and they will probably recoil in horror and shock at what they have been doing for a long time. Is that correct?
Yes, for many of them, that's correct.
So they are to be healed and to be pitied to a certain extent because some of their deeds have been very heinous against us, and they have just been as implanted and as manipulated as we have. So I guess there's a question here. Someone's asked, how do starseeds actually come and incarnate here? Are there new starseeds coming here, or are all the people already kind of trapped in the reincarnation situation?
There are no fresh starseeds coming from other star systems. People who have incarnated here have been inside of this recycling process for at least 25,000 years, with extremely rare exceptions.
Right. Those rare sections may be if they have captured perhaps an extraterrestrial craft. I've heard that they actually will kill that extraterrestrial's physical body and force their soul into a human body. Is that true?
Those things were happening in the past.
They have happened in the past. I mentioned, I had asked you a question last time about the Cirrus race, and you said you'd heard of them. Could you tell us what you know about the Cirrus race? Seres.
Okay, this race has been involved in a certain amount of genetic engineering in the past, and has been contacted by the light forces, by the Galactic Confederation quite recently, and have crossed into the light.
Okay, so at some point in time they were negative and now they're positive.
I would not describe as negative, simply uneducated.
Uneducated in their genetic manipulations. Another question, are some star seeds leaving the surface of the planet via different ways, such as reblending with their higher selves, while a walk-in replaces their bodies?
Again, if people are describing this as ascension, this has not been happening since 1996. And there have been some walk-in exchanges, but people who have gone through those exchanges have just shifted from the physical to the etheric or the astral plane and have not left quarantine Earth.
Okay, we have a couple of questions from China. I like to answer those because they're few and far between. I like to pick them out. There's a question about Chairman XE, I guess it's Z. Does he know about the spiritual forces? Does he know about ascension and events on Earth? In other words, they're asking, is he a positive guy, the Chinese chairman? Is he in preparation for the event?
Okay, I would say he has a certain amount of understanding, but to a certain degree.
And is he generally along for the ride, or is he one of the cabal of the Western forces?
Okay, he is cooperating to a certain degree with the light forces, but it is not known when the event happens to which degree, when things get a little bit more intense, how he will react.
Okay, some people have asked about the situation with the dragon societies. How many are there, and is there more unification amongst these groups since we last talked? Has there been any progress along at the higher levels on what the plans are for moving forward?
Yes, there has been some good signs lately in the last few weeks especially, and this is very good because the situation was not very nice a few months ago. So yes, I would say there is improvement.
Very good. Another question about the Chinese dragon societies. Everyone seems to think they're kind of running the show. Is that correct? On the financial level, with their large economy, are they kind of the go-to kind of person to team to help initiate this process? Are they very much involved, or are all countries equally involved?
Okay, it is a global process.
Okay, next question. Cobra, are the solar flares contributing to activating our DNA strands? And if so, is there any difference between first, second, and third waivers? I presume that meant on those people who are going to be lifted into spaceships.
Yes, the solar flares are influencing our DNA and are assisting in the activation of the DNAs. I will not comment on the second part of the question.
Okay. You talked a while back about how Israel holds the keys to Atlantis, and so it's a sacred area. Can you explain more about that?
Basically, I have also already answered this question. Israel was one of the major vortex points in time of Atlantis. There is a very strong goddess vortex in that area, and there was a strong colony in time of Atlantis, and this is the reason why the Archons wanted always to control this area.
Okay, this is a kind of a funny question, but I think it's kind of one that a lot of people who are new are going out. But, could the resistance movement message become more mainstream? When will it be time to call out publicly those who deceive humanity? I feel, of course, it's always been time. We're on it. But do you see the resistance movement becoming more mainstream?
It will become more mainstream only after the event.
Okay. We did have the United States, or at least they said it on the news, the United States was involved in bombing of Syria. Can you talk about that the United States actually did take part in the bombing?
Yes, they did.
And as awful and as tragic as that is, how was that allowed to take place? The military guys can't stop that, or what?
It is simply that the negative military still has too much power to stop this.
Okay, so the negative guys in the military don't have to answer to the good guys. The good guys aren't completely in control of the United States military, is that correct?
No, they are not in control.
Okay. Here's an interesting thing. Someone's kind of questioning some things. You said the Chimera Group has infiltrated militaries of all major nations. And after the Congo Archon invasion in 1996, they put physical stranglet bombs on most U.S. military bases and some military bases of other nations. In this year, 2014, the resistance movement, the Galactic Confederation, started clearing Chimera Group and these bombs. So the question is, you said the event will not happen until the Chimera Group and their weapons are removed. So they're wondering why you said there were possibilities in 2012 and 13 of the event taking place. Did they not know about the Chimera bombs at that point, or it was possible that they could have cleared them then?
No, they couldn't clear them, but the resistance movement was considering taking a huge risk and triggering the event even with the existence of those bombs. But then, of course, it was guided that risk would be simply too great.
Yeah, that's logical. At the event, when all their negative technologies, including etheric implants and the scalar wave technology, are cleared from the Earth, will all human infants born after the event be able to keep their past life memories immediately?
There are also other factors involved. It is simply there is still the membrane between the physical and the etheric brain, but the memory, it will be much easier for any of the newly incarnated souls to remember past lives.
So the reason they wouldn't be able to is there's a membrane, and how long will this take to heal?
Well, it's a natural thing, and usually if a human being is not absolutely awakened, a certain amount of memory is lost. In the same way that you forget what you have had for breakfast last Monday.
Someone has asked about the cracks in the matrix that you mentioned. People are wondering exactly if you could define that a little bit more. What is a crack?
A crack in the matrix is an area where the light from beyond the veil is coming inside of the quarantine Earth.
Okay, and without commenting on a person here, but someone has asked a question. David Icke's information, my opinion is it definitely seems to be in attunement and alignment with my feelings and your information. Would you agree?
Yes, he has brought a lot of awareness about many things, but I would not agree with all the details. But basically, yes, he has brought a lot of interesting intel and a lot of awakening.
Okay, and Ben Fulford's latest article, he said that the good guys now have control of the weather. I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean the good guys have taken down the HARP? Would you agree with that statement?
I would not agree completely. I would just say that there has been the light forces were able to counteract some of the HARP activities, especially in Asia.
Okay, that's very good. You made recently a comment that there are different groups with different origins, with different stories, with different vibrational frequencies and different structures. With that said, this particular being that this person's talking about said they came to the planet to help remind the African Americans of their star group, which is partly Anukai and partly Riskian, to help them return to their star family on a planet named Rix in a galaxy named Illuian, which is not too far from the Milky Way. Have you ever heard of anything about that group?
No.
Okay, that's probably a channeling, wasn't able to do this. Calipelli, our good friend, has made a post recently talking about a massive arrest coordinated from The Hague. I think the number was 1,027 cabal criminals arrested, including sex trafficking, human slavery, and some of the lower minions in the cabal. Was this orchestrated by the resistance? Was this to get dirt on the higher-ups and twist some arms?
I would say this was coordinated by the light forces. And I will not specify who was behind it, but yes, it was a good progress on the lower levels of the minions of the cabal.
Very good. Here's a funny question. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Will Mexico, Canada become part of the United States of America?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay. People are wondering what's going to happen with Bigfoot after the event. Will they remain hidden? They'll come out. We'll get to meet them eventually as part of our star family.
Yes.
Okay. Some people have been asking about, you mentioned the light cities, and I think there was some confusion in their mind. There's many talks with J.J. Hurtak about the very large planetary motherships coming down and touching upon the Earth, and James Gilliland says they'll power up. Eventually, at some point, we will probably have some very large light cities descend to the Earth. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Can you comment any more about that?
Okay, I would not want to comment because it's part of the Ascension plan, and I would not release that until the situation with the Chimera group is a little bit better.
Okay, good. Will there be new light cities that form on the surface? And if so, what would you suggest for those people who are seeking to create a light city? Would this be in general vortex areas? Would this be a privately held property? What would you suggest for people? I know the area around Daman here is certainly moving forward, and some of the Anastasia information in Russia is creating some very wonderful kind of loosely affiliated commune-type societies. What do you recommend for the rest of the world in regards to creating a light city or preparing, or for people who are really ready to make a change and to be the way showers for this? What would you recommend for these people to create a light city?
Okay, the first thing they need to do is to create harmonious interpersonal relationship within the group, because usually what happens when people try to manifest a light city or a community of light, the archons infiltrate their subconsciousness and they trigger their patterns, and the conflicts begin and the project is ruined. So when you have a harmonious group with a high level of harmony and coherence, a high level of integration, then that group can begin to manifest a light city on the physical plane.
Okay. Here's a question here. We know you're not into divination too much, but there is synchronicity in the universe, and I don't always, hang on every word of astrology or tarot cards. But can you tell us the message behind the tarot? There are 22 major arcanas as indication of self-empowerment. Is there something that we should be aware of the tarot, or can you just talk about the tarot and what that is?
It's a divination system which actually creates a portal to various stages of consciousness and can be a useful tool for awakening.
Okay, so you can kind of use it as a kind of what's happening in your life at the moment if it's read properly. Is that correct?
Yeah, also.
Will people be reunited with their twin flames after the event?
Okay, after the event, the process of reunification with the twin souls will start.
Very good. Here's an interesting one. Goes hand in hand with another one that people asked. After the event, will people be able to make contact with their family members who've passed on? Will there be a process? Will it be telepathic? Will it be open? Or will it still be kind of more difficult?
The light forces will have certain technology quite shortly after the event where people will be able to have contact with their loved ones on the other side.
Wow, that is awesome. I'm really excited to hear that kind of change going to be able to take place very soon. Another question asked, there's some heartfelt questions, and they're from mothers, of course, about missing children. And Dr. Bell named some pretty high numbers, as well as some other sources, that through the years, abductions and lost children and humans taken from the earth numbering as high as 6 million. Would you agree that's a possibility?
Yes, the number is very high.
It is very high. Okay, so will the people who have had missing children who've been pining and wondering what happened, will these type of things be able to be known? I mean, we've got so much reconstruction going on and everything. Will these type of emotional calming information to help people understand what happened, will that be available after the event?
Yes, of course, and people will be able to be reunited with those children one way or the other, or have contact with them. And a lot of healing will happen after the event about the situation.
There's a question here. It says, will we be able to teleport after the event? And I say yes, of course, in my mind. But the question is how soon? How soon do you think that technology of the, I guess we could call it a mini Stargate, be available for the general public?
That will take quite some time because this needs to happen a certain amount of time after the first contact.
Yes, Andrew Basago, who was at my conference, talked about his time with the government back in the 70s with the government time travel and mostly the jump room technology. He's having some physical side effects. I think the government technology is probably does have some, I guess we could call it bugs in it that doesn't make it the safest or best mode of transportation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Of course, the ETs have this detailed down. Is this teleportation on the physical plane, is this kind of a new technology for the Federation?
No, of course not.
Okay, because I was under the impression that some of the aspects of the teleportation technology, as far as like the little door frames that you step through and go, it might be new, but they've had even that type of technology for many, many thousands of years, huh?
Yes.
Or millions even, maybe. Okay, some people want to know about the mission of Maitreya, and he has a weekly meditation, of course, with and the person Benjamin Krem, who wrote the books The Reappearance of the Christ. Could you comment a little bit about that?
Well, yes, he has meditation groups, and he has done some good work in spreading information, but his interpretation is not completely aligned with the truth.
Okay. One of the things he mentions is that, I don't know, the Rancha book talks about, I guess, these beings who just are very highly evolved, who just manifest on the physical plane like a ascended master. Can you talk anything about the being that they call Maitreya, that he does exist and is a positive force?
Yes, actually, that's a code name for one of the Ascended Masters, and yes, he will appear at a certain point after the first contact, but he is not present on the physical plane on the planet right now.
Okay, very good. In our last interview, Cobra, you stated that the Anunnaki were not mining for gold here on Earth. If you were correct, can you explain who was digging for gold in Africa over I guess it says 200,000 years ago. I'm not sure how they know that. That might be from the, I'm guessing, the Tellinger information. It seems to be there's clear evidence that some civilization was interested in extracting huge amounts of gold from this planet.
There was some gold mining, but not to the scope that it was presented in certain articles, and also the time frame might not be exactly correct.
Yeah, I was going to say the time frame. There are evidences in some of the Mayans in the Central American cities of people, they found ruins and excavated sites where there have been, it looks like everyone evacuated the city mysteriously. Dr. Frank Strange has indicated that some of these civilizations were invited to the inner earth. Can you confirm, or were some of these civilizations that were left without a trace? Did they go to the starships, or?
Okay, certain people went to the starships, and yes, huge amounts of people went underground to the Agartha network.
Okay, very good, thank you. From down there in New Zealand, they would like your opinion on their latest elections. They were wondering if they were rigged. They were lobbying for change, and they felt that the results were really the opposite of what was expected and polled. Can you talk about anything that's going on in New Zealand at this time?
I think they have already answered their own question, and yes, the Cabal has also presence in New Zealand because there is quite a strong movement of awakening with the Maori people in New Zealand, and also some other groups are quite strong there, and the Cabal wants to suppress this, of course.
Yeah, I was just interviewed by a guy named Vinny Eastwood, and he was talking about their prime minister in a not-so-friendly way, and they shut down his YouTube. He had 3 million subscribers. He was quite gobsmacked by that. So a lot of censorship going on in YouTube. We've talked about this before. The dark guys are still managing to censor and to put some monkey wrenches in the computer freedom of speech. Is that correct? They're still able to do some things. Is there potential for this to be completely eradicated, their influence over the internet, or will we be dealing with this until the event?
We will be dealing with this until the event.
You mentioned previously that all changes in society should be completed by 2025. Is this still the plan?
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay. A couple other people, you've talked about the death process and the corralling, kind of the forcing into the reincarnation process. This is one of the biggest questions, of course, of humanity in a quarantine planet where ascended masters aren't teaching our truth, our cosmic heritage, and our past lives aren't revealed to us. But people would like a little more information about what happens when you die. Would you say there's a bottleneck on the astral plane after we die? Do we have soul contracts and agreements that must be filled?
Okay, you can always change the soul agreement and soul contracts. What is very important is your level of consciousness when you die, because that determines pretty much of where are you going. And if you are aware and you can orient yourself and not to be trapped into the archon traps, you can actually cross over to the higher astral plane where you can have a pretty nice existence for quite some time.
How could people do that? Is there a specific technique at the time of death, as some people can remember it? In India, they're very much have a lot of stories of and promises if someone is able to focus on something at the moment of their death. Let's say that someone can't focus it at the moment of their death, but they realize that they're dead, they're outside their body. Or if you know, of course, you haven't died yet, so you don't know either, but perhaps. But could you give a description of what someone might do? Let's say they're outside their body. They see their mangled body in a, excuse me, folks, but let's say we had a car wreck. What would that person do?
Okay, the main thing is to focus on inner light, inner self, higher self, and go by that guidance.
Okay, there are some stories that when you astral travel, I've heard different stories of certain Egyptians expecting certain things to come from the east or whatever. Is there any place physically that when someone's free and they're traveling and they're out of their body, are they free to go around the earth, just see the earth in the astral plane, or is there always a guide right there with them, or is this guide part of the false matrix? What happens there?
Yeah, there is a certain amount of freedom, and there are guides around, and the guides themselves are manipulated. So there are many well-meaning beings on the astral plane, and some of them are simply manipulated by the archons.
Okay. So on the higher astral plane of the Earth's higher astral plane, it is a positive existence then.
To a certain degree, yes. It is still controlled by the archons, so the archons put certain limits to what you can experience. The same as in your physical life, you can experience many wonderful things, although we are still in a quarantine status.
They would like to completely control the higher astral plane. Is it they can't possibly control it all? Is that right?
They cannot.
Okay, good. There's a question. Is Earth a master class if we choose to be here?
No. It's not a class, it's not a school, it's something completely different.
What is that?
It's a occupied area which needs to be liberated.
Okay, let's see. There's a question here, and this is kind of an interesting thing in general. How many hybrid civilizations have the Greys seeded using our DNA?
They were not able to use our DNA because those genetic experiments were not successful as they hoped.
Okay, good. The word is that they were time traveling to extract our DNA so they could reinstate their race before they die out as they lost their ability to procreate. Is that correct? Fred said there was some truth to that.
No, I would not agree with that. They were not time traveling.
Did they lose their ability to procreate?
It was greatly compromised because their genetic material was not as good as they hoped.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that's what he had said as well. Okay, can you talk about the relationship between ancient Greece and the Pleiadians?
Basically, not only the Pleiadians, but also the Syrians have inspired Greek philosophers and have actually triggered the rise of the Greek civilization through a certain group called the Brotherhood of the Star.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. It says that Sheldon Neidl talks about light chambers, and he said we will be healed during 3 days after the event. I'm not sure if he meant in light chambers or just in the come down of the scalar technology will create a great healing. Will there be light chambers and advanced healing technologies made available that soon after the event, within 3 days?
No.
Okay. All right. There's a lot of people who've been going through a lot of depression lately. I have gotten some, really hopeless type of things. Is this just a major Archon attack, last-ditch effort, really affecting people, or do you think that people are just kind of realizing that their lives kind of been in vain in a false matrix, and it's kind of a natural process of increased light?
It's more of the, I would say, quite intensified Archon attacks lately, and people need to understand that those depressions are artificially created.
Okay. Here's some from people in the Philippines. They have a group of small islands west of the Philippine territory called the Spratly Islands. And China is making claims that it's theirs, and they want to build some fortifications over it, much like the tussle between China over their islands there. What's so important about these islands when it's nothing but insignificant land? Is there any real story behind that?
It's not just insignificant land. There were many tunnels with hidden parts of Yamashita gold. Of course, the gold is not there anymore, but many Chinese still think that's gold there, and they want that gold.
Okay. They think it's still there, or?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not, is it?
It's not.
Has any of the gold taken by the resistance movement been returned to the surface? Well, I guess that would be classified, I imagine, but can you say has it been returned to the surface?
No, not yet.
Okay, you mentioned that some of that Admiral Broad's story is somewhat false. Can you comment on whether the Smoky God story of Olaf is true, or if that is false?
Okay, it's a fictional story which mixes some facts with fiction.
So it's a completely fictional story. Those two, the father and son, never went in.
Yes, the Smoky God, it's a 19th century book, which is a piece of fiction. So it's not something that happened, but it was a story that wanted to convey certain truths mixed with certain, I would say, not exactly correct understanding of what's happening below the surface.
Okay. We're getting near the end of the time here. I just wanted to, again, thank you for your spending the time with me here and sharing this information. Last month's was very well received. I received a tremendous amount of input. People, if I didn't get your question, I apologize. We had lots of questions and we had some repeats there. We'll try to get to you next month. Cobra, in regards to the current situation on the Earth, there seems to be, of course, the propaganda machine is still running full speed. We have the Ebola scare, which I appreciate and thank you very much, and I'm sure many of you will be heartened to hear that information, that we can disregard what's happening in the media. At the same time, tremendous suffering is taking place around the planet. Can you give us any comments on progresses in Ukraine? Recently, Russia said that their ruble was going to be devalued, and the government was making statements for people not to panic. Can you comment what was going on in Ukraine and Russia?
Okay, there are still certain things running behind the scenes. There are light forces trying to create a certain breakthrough that would decrease the level of violence in Ukraine, but this hasn't been completed yet.
Okay, yeah, there's still lots of things taking place. Okay, one last thing. Let's talk about the good news of the coming open contact with our space family. Do you see there are many different extraterrestrial races from within our solar system on different planets that are here? Eventually, these beings will come forward. The people missing in the Bermuda Triangle, many people have contact, will be coming out to support the information at the time of the event. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And can you tell us any good news about the Palladian spaceships and when we may be seeing our space family, the Ashtar Command and the Andromedan Councils? Will these ships be seen much more regularly at the time of the event, or will it be afterwards, slowly and gradually?
It will be slowly and gradually, but when it starts, it will be amazing.
Yes, it will. So I would like you to give a nice message of love, hope, and peace to our people from the Victory of Light radio show as a parting gift, Cobra. Any positive message for them?
Yes, I would say that there have been certain breakthroughs throughout this weekend that will result in big changes. Although it will take some time, do not lose hope. Things are happening, and what we are fighting for will happen and will be here for all of us and for all of our future till eternity.
Yes, thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I agree with Cobra. It is the victory of the light. It is assured. It's taking place as we speak. It's taken many thousands of years, many millions of years, and it's time that we all become involved. So again, I want to remind you all, prepareforchange.net, Cobra 2012 portal blogspot. Check it out and sign up and get notifications of the latest information. Thank you so much, Cobra. Victory to the light, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for your attention and victory of the light.